Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Movie Mortis, where movie madness lives. My name is Nick, and you are?
And I'm Drew.
And I'm Tim.
And this is our side podcast, Why Horror Matters, a show where we explain to Tim, a non horror fan, why a certain movie has artistic merits and is culturally significant. Today we'll be talking about Final Destination 1.
Released in 1990, 2000, sorry.
Oh, 2000, yeah. I was,
2000,
I was going to say, wasn't it like a Y2K movie or something?
Yeah,
Because,
it was
2000.
kind of, yeah.
yeah.
2000, yeah. But I don't know why I thought it came out in 1999. It was production, I think, was in
It
1999, but
has a
it came
very
out in 2000.
Y2K aesthetic. And speaking of Y2K, I happen to have a fake flip phone on my hand that I had for a cosplay plot, but I never bothered putting away. So this is very, very fitting. So,
Yeah.
um, we'll start with a basic premise and ask Tim what he knows about it. So Final Destination is about this guy who receives premonitions of death, starting with a big plane explosion in which he is only able to get 5 people off the plane before it explodes midair, and then they realize death is coming for them. Tim, what do you know about Final Destination?
I know. I remember that. I remember that plane scene pretty growing up. Yeah, just even more recently. I was just so curious about the scene. It's like it was such a. It's like seeing a big ass train wreck, and yet you can't stop looking at it.
Hmm.
So I
Which
don't know
plane
why.
scene?
Just I
The
was
premonition where you actually see the destruction inside the plane, or like when it explodes
yeah.
when they're outside in the
The
airport?
no, it was the premonition, dude.
Oh,
It
okay.
was
Yeah, the
I
premonition
don't know
is
why.
pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's kind of the.
Yeah, and
That's, that,
I noticed that they made some jump cuts where the fire was suddenly, suddenly the victims are on fire, and suddenly they're to a crisp, in between cuts. So
hmm.
so there's no consistency or continuity on those scenes. So I don't get that. Um, but it's just that they're suddenly on fire, and suddenly you just see their charred bodies, in the seats
I think I think it has
with the
that dreamlike
fucking door
quality of
blown
the
out.
premonition because like when it's all said and over, he kind of wakes up like he's living in a nightmare, and it felt
yeah.
all too real, and it kind of makes you wonder, was that real? Is this what premonitions are like? Are they like more than dreams?
Yeah, I think the whole burning to the crisp thing was meant to be very quick. It's not meant
Yeah.
because for pacing, not meant to be, you know, it's
And
not meant to be drawn out.
what I think is really interesting is that this movie it has its bloody moments, like if you like a decapitation or two, but it's not as
Yeah.
bloody as I anticipated it to be.
Yeah,
Like it's
I
just
mean,
it's
it's
just
not
kind of
like,
basic gore, really. It's basic gore, like
All the
I mean,
just say for
I
like
mean,
an amputation or something.
yeah, it's not like a Saw movie or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. I hear I
well,
never
I
seen any of the
just can't.
sequels, and quite frankly, sorry, you first, Tim.
It's just that the usual, screaming and screaming in agony, and just the way they die is just an absolute turn off for me, dude. Like
I don't know.
I
I
mean, I
get
can
that, but
barely stand when women scream. So it's like I just can't get it out of my head.
well, I mean, the
And
thing is, I
I hate
think
it.
I think the newer movies tend to get more gory. Like, I never seen the newer movies. I don't know if I want to watch them because I really put off watching the Final Destination movies because I was afraid this would turn me into an agrophobic shut-in and a complete paranoid freak because and pretty much the whole movie is just out to kill every single character in that film. But here's the thing: Final Destination One is, the characters die and the deaths are pretty brutal, but compared to what the sequels showcase in the trailers, um, Final Destination One's kind of pretty tame compared to
Yeah.
because. And I think the same thing can be said for something like the Saw movies, because the Saw movies, people are being tortured and killed in the most brutal ways ever.
Hmm.
But Saw One, I think, was more about like the puzzles and more than it was about the gore. And then like the Saw sequels got really fucking crazy with like
the Saw sequels basically became torture porn basically.
yeah, the mystery kind of became an afterthought.
Yeah.
And I think this applies to Final Destination because now I don't. Here's the thing: some of the deaths in there's like so some people say the deaths in Final Destination can be comically goofy, and I can see why. I mean, there's one scene that had me kind of laughing, and so one of the deaths involves a toilet leaking, and then a guy slipping on the toilet and landing on a freaking those little like coat hanger wire thing in the shower, and he chokes to death.
Yeah.
But that's pretty brutal. That sucks. That's terrible.
That's brutal.
But get this. The water that leaked out of the toilet just goes right back into the toilet.
Yeah, it recedes. Yeah,
that I don't know why. Like that is the funniest thing I've seen in that movie. Like I was just kind of chuckling.
It's like Death himself is cleaning up his mess.
Yeah. Like Tim, imagine if you see that death, like here's the thing, it's the deaths in this film are actually very built up, like they can happen at any moment, but this one specifically like has an after, like imagine you witness a very brutal, agonizing death, you're kind of like oh gosh, that's terrible, and then you see like water from a leaking pipe just rewind and go back into the pipe, like that. Imagine how does that make you feel? How'd that make you feel?
Wait, what? Okay, I was never told about water just rewinding like a fucking videotape. Like
I didn't know either. Happened. But like
that, is that supposed to be intentional or something?
I want to say yes because like they imply death is more of an entity than it is like a natural force, because there's two scenes in the movie, like for example that same bathroom scene, like when a guy's like looking in the mirror trying to shave, like there's like a dark, the reflection gets very dark and ominous, like something is in there with him. And this also happens again in another scene where a teacher, Miss Luton, is cooking like tea for herself, and like in the kettle her reflection becomes dark, like something's in the room. So
you even see that you even see that later during the famous bus scene, as a bus is going by, you kind of see a shadow that kind of looks a bit like the Grim Reaper almost. So it's like you see that in like all the death scenes, the way it's reinforcing this idea that you said of death basically being like an entity rather than like a person or a natural force.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I think Roger Ebert even said that he praised this movie for actually having the killer be like the concept of death than it is than an actual like serial killer. Like you're not seeing Jason killing people, you're just seeing these people trying to figure out how they can outplay a force of
and I think
I don't want to call it a force of nature. It's just like I want to say it's like how can I describe it? Well, shit. I don't. Well, I mean, I got a metaphor, but it's gonna sound kind of silly.
Okay, let's hear it.
There's this creepypasta called String Theory. It's about a guy who wakes up and realizes everything is attached to strings, and he learns that a little goblin is controlling these strings. And eventually he gets a couple of his friends free from this, and he asks the goblin about the concept of free will. The goblin gets sad, and then the next day he wakes up and all the strings are gone, and the guy questions if what he's doing is his own free will.
Okay.
Like I feel like this movie really does take a dark turn on destiny. Like these characters know death is coming for them because they ended up living on the time that they were supposed to die, and they're trying to wonder what is the it's like playing Telltale. It's like playing a video game, a story-based video game, where it's like, okay, what's the path where I don't take to die? Like it's like a Telltale game or a David Cage game, if that makes sense.
It makes some sense, yeah.
Tim, does that make any sense to you?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I literally just spewed everything. I literally just said it. I literally just said like, okay, Tim, have you ever played Telltale's The Walking Dead or any David Cage game, like Heavy Rain, freaking what's that one with the robots?
Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, Detroit Become Human. Have you ever played any of those games, Tim?
I was when you started talking over me. I'm saying that yes, I've played through all 4 seasons of Walking Dead. Yes,
All
so
right, now hear
on
me out. Hear
Xbox.
me out. Hear me out. So imagine if in those games you make one wrong decision, you cannot go back. You cannot start over. It's basically those
Yeah,
games, but in real life. But instead of a zombie apocalypse, you're trying to figure out, how do I not die? How can Murphy's Law not kill me? You know what Murphy's Law is, right?
no,
Okay, Murphy's Law is
It's like
basically the
it's basically the idea of everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
yeah. Yeah, that's what Murphy's Law is. Like, these characters are they're not running away from a killer. They're thinking to themselves, "Oh shit, how can I not die? How can I prevent this weird freak Rube Goldberg machine accident out?" Because the way these characters die is very, very, very complex. Like, one of the deaths I
And
mentioned.
almost and you can almost say it's somewhat contrived too, but I
Yeah,
mean that in like a positive way.
yeah. It is kind of contrived.
Because it's like it just so happens a bus comes at this particular time,
Yeah.
or even when Miss Luton dies, it's
Yeah,
like
I
it's
think
like
Miss I think both Todd's death and Miss Luton's death are very interesting because, again, Tim, the way these characters don't just die like an instant. They don't drop like, I mean, well, they don't drop like flies. They everything is built up to when they finally perish. Like, for an example, Miss Luton. You see that she's trying to light a stove. Like, oh, is this going to be a gas leak? Oh no, the stove lights up like normal. And oh, the mug cracks. Is she going to step on glass and fall? It's like, no, the mug just starts leaking freaking vodka. Yeah, she gets tired of tea and decides to drink vodka instead. And then it like burns her computer, which and then this is where the Rube Def is essentially setting up a game of Mousetrap or a Rube Goldberg machine for these characters to die, and it's that build up that really, like, you're anticipating, like, okay, when is this gonna happen? When is this gonna happen? You know what I mean?
I think
right?
You first. I mean, yeah. What were you saying, Drew?
what my favorite scene in the movie is when that scene with Tony Todd at the morgue, and I think he says it perfectly, where it's like we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a perfect way to describe it. And I think, you know, um, where it's like death is the cat and the people are like little mice.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to kind of
Yeah.
describe it. Um, you know, a game of cat and mouse, except it's deadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that does kind of make sense. Yeah. Do you see where I'm going at, Tim? Like, that you see, it's very different than having a killer just chase you. It's about, when will this happen, and when will this happen? You know, it's called build up.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
did you have anything to add on to this, or no, Tim?
Well, with what Drew said, that Tony Todd guy. Are you sure that he's not like basically a representation for the Grim Reaper in some way, shape, or form? You don't think that Tony Todd guy is, kind of like death himself or
There's
something?
there's
Like,
actually there's actually some pretty popular fan theories that Tony Todd's character Bloodworth is like a physical representation of the Grim Reaper in a
Oh,
way.
I read about
So
those.
yeah, so that is a pretty popular fan theory because
The
Tony Todd does show up in Final Destination 2, and I think in
He shows up
the
in the fifth
fifth
one.
one, the fifth one, and he gets usually like one scene in these movies, but in one movie each. But he basically describes to the characters this game of death, and
Yeah,
he seems to kind of really like his job of being a mortician.
Mortician.
And
Oh,
he comes off almost as like he comes off as almost very almost creepy in a way, but it's like
he's very condescending. I,
but
I know I know the producers did confirm he is not the Grim Reaper. He's not deaf. Like, they basically said, no, he's not deaf. He's not deaf. But there are theories saying that he does serve deaf and that he's actually purposely trying to get these characters killed.
yeah, I think that's an interesting way how it contextualizes everything, how it
Yeah.
recontextualizes everything in his character.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, R.I.P. Tony Todd. By the way,
Oh yeah, rest in peace, Tony Todd. Like, I think we should go to Tony
legend.
Todd's performance.
In that
Tim,
one scene, it's so good.
yeah, the scene is really good. But before we get into that scene, Tim, what do you know Tony Todd for besides Final Destination? Genuinely asking here, what do you know Tony Todd for?
I know that he was in 24, so.
Oh yeah, that TV show, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's but anyways, so Tony Todd actually is really cool in that movie. Like he only has one scene. He doesn't have enough screen time, but he makes that screen time absolutely worth it. Like he has this very creepy, condescending tone like, "Oh, I've seen this before. Y'all are in trouble." And like he basically says that hey, it's coming for you, but it's not out of my control. It's all up to you. I'm downplaying this by like kind of playing it in a jokey manner, but like I cannot do Tony Todd's performance justice. He's like it's like Drew said, you're just a mouse and death is one big cat, and like he really does enjoy his job as a mortician. Like I don't know if maybe he just likes the feel of dead bodies or something, and here's the thing, like this ties to a fan theory that he's probably serving death, but Tony Todd's character Bloodworth, which by the way, very subtle name, he's either serving death because he says to the main character before he leaves, "I'll be seeing you soon."
Yeah, as if he knows, like he's soon on death's list, and he even explains to them, it's like, I'm trying to forget because I was watching this damn scene earlier, where it's like they cheated Death, and it's like Death is redesigning his design, to suit that, to come back with them essentially.
Yeah. So Tim, without
and I think also too, this movie the characters in this game are almost figuring out kind of a puzzle as they're figuring out Death's design, because they're looking at like the blueprint of the plane that they were supposed to die on, and they're trying to figure out.
It was mostly just Alex who was viewing the blueprint really, and I think if you want to transition to Alex, we should probably talk about Alex. So
played by Devon Sawa, who's always great.
Yeah. So what I think is really cool about Alex is that he becomes this huge. He's kind of implied to be this really fearful, neurotic guy, but after the plane crash, he becomes completely paranoid, and dare I say, not really like. I bet the modern internet lingo would be he'd be a complete schizo, but really, he's not. He's just completely paranoid. Like he sees that there's a plan. He's the guy who would make like freaking like graphs out of like straws and string. He'd tie everything together, and that's what he did. Yeah. That's what's implied throughout the movie. Like there's a scene where he tries to toss a newspaper, telling Al to buzz off, but the newspaper gets shredded in the fan, and then the words Todd pop up on the newspaper. It's like, oh shit, I gotta go rescue Todd.
Well, he's also at the beginning of the movie, in the first scene, he's also established to be kind of superstitious, because if you notice, he doesn't want to take that tag off of his luggage. If I remember correctly, he doesn't want to take that tag off of his luggage because it's like it's a superstition thing.
Yeah. He's incredibly paranoid, and I say he'd make for a great statistics student. And like here's the thing, and like I said, he's not running away from a serial killer. He's trying to figure out what's the right move. It's like I said, it's like a Telltale Walking Dead game. And he kind of like I said, he make for a great statistics student. He's like trying to figure out. And by the way, like I don't even know if statistics will even apply to this. Like Tim, how would you describe what we're describing so far of this Alex character?
I would be just as paranoid if I had strange events going around me, knowing that death is right around the corner. So, and not a quick death, just a very slow, motherfucking painful one. So and it would hurt like a bitch. So
So this is gonna be a weird comparison, but there's an episode of Rick and Morty where Morty gets this crystal that he sees his future, and he's doing everything he can to make sure he gets a future where he gets married to his love of his life and dies happy next to her. And like, but here's the thing: every time even if he does something simple like, oh, go get the saw, but if he reaches it for a long way, he sees a future where he gets like brutalized or something. So this is like a less cartoony version of that Rick and Morty episode, except because there's a scene where Alex's paranoia gets so bad to him that Clear, which yes, there is a girl named Clear, not Claire.
Yeah.
Clear, which
Clear.
who the hell names their kid Clear? That's like naming your kid Clean.
I don't know. I don't know.
Clear and Carter, they take Alex to a cabin, and Alex essentially starts like safe-proofing this whole cabin, or not safe-proofing, but death-proofing. There's the money shot. Death-proofing this cabin. Like, he's wrapping things up so they don't fall. He's putting like corks on nails because they think he might stab him. And I think there's maybe a tennis ball around like a corner of a desk, unless I'm thinking the movie Novocaine. Good movie, by the way. But like, and then like eventually he sees something fall out of the closet, but he stops it and he says, that would have required a tenet to shot. Like, he's becoming like so knowledgeable. Okay, this could kill me, that could kill me, this could kill me. Like, yeah, like I think in a way, I feel like Alex is kind of becoming broken with all this paranoia.
Yeah.
What do you, Drew? What do you think about Alex? What do you think about Alex? Explain to Tim how Alex stands out as a protagonist.
Well, he stands out as a protagonist because of kind of what you just talked about, his ability to sort of figure out to make his room in that cabin death proof, and his ability to kind of adapt and learn exactly what he thinks death is doing.
Yeah.
So I think that makes him really good, especially for like the horror genre, where you kind of have to be adaptable to survive a lot of these situations.
Yeah.
Makes him a pretty good protagonist. And as well, he seems like the fact that I think that we're dealing with high school students kind of makes.
Pay attention, Tim.
I mean, the fact that this movie is like, also too, Alex is kind of shown to be a bit of like how do I put this? A bit of a timid guy in a way. Kind of how we talked about earlier about the superstition and all that stuff.
He does come across as timid, but
it makes him seem more vulnerable.
Yeah, he is very vulnerable. Yeah, actually, no, he is absolutely vulnerable. I mean, I mean, they're all just normal high school students. They're not like athletes. They're not like analysts. They're just normal people. They're the every teen, and
yeah,
I think in a way, maybe it's because it's like a mid 2000s movie, but so compare that to our last horror movie discussed like freaking Nightmare on Elm Street. You had your jock character, you're cool, you're bad boy. These are just normal kids. I mean, yeah, Carter could be kind of the stereotypical bad boy, and Clear,
Carter, you dick.
Yeah, Clear, which again, stupid name. I'm sorry. Clear is kind of generic pretty girl, and but like I think Alex serves as the perfect middleman, the perfect normal man. Now thrust in a situation where it's like, wow, I got premonition. I've been given a premonition, and now I got to figure out the pattern of death. Like, he's more or less using his wits than he is using physical strength to stop a killer, or in this case, a force he can't fucking control. And I think there's like an interesting way you can draw. I think there's an interesting way that you can say that this movie's like a metaphor for how to fight your own fate. You can be against the fate, if you will, or shit. There was a pun referencing an emo band, but I feel like I fucked it up.
Were you going to reference Escape the Fate? Yeah.
There we go. He's trying to escape the fate before he brings the flood of death. I hope all of our emo fans get that.
Man, I can't believe you just name dropped Escape the Fate in a Final Destination episode.
You think that's bad? Wait till you hear this. My first exposure to Final Destination was Final Destination 4, and I didn't watch the movie, but I saw like the poster for it, and then I saw a TV on commercial. I'm like, what does this have to do with the Super Smash Brothers stage? Like, I was wondering, like, did all the characters just go to Final Destination in the movie Final Destination? 1v1 me, all Fox, no items, Final Destination. In fact, I have an idea for a video game mod. Take any Super Smash Bros. Game, take the Final Destination stage, but make the background every single Final Destination movie playing in the background. Like, Just have the entire movie from like opening credits to like the end credits. Just so while you're fighting as like Fox and Link or whatever, just you're watching all the Final Destination movies in the background. Like somebody make that a mod, please.
Without getting a cease and desist from the studio.
Oh yeah, or Nintendo, whichever one comes
or
for
Nintendo,
you first.
Yeah.
But yeah, where were we? Where were we before I trailed off on why
You
the
you
hell is this?
you were talking. You made a pun about escaping the fate with
Oh
Final
yeah.
Destination, and now.
Well, before that.
Um, yeah, you're kind of talking a bit metaphorically about this movie.
Yeah. Like, I feel like this film can have like a theme of like fate and how people will go for desperate changes to try and prevent them from having a bad future. It's like you ever go to a tarot card reading or something, or have like one of those like pseudo psychs kind of read your palms like, oh, you're gonna get fucked over or whatever, like I feel like this is that movie, but I feel like this is that but taken to extreme and turned into a movie. Does that make any sense to all y'all?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You can look at this movie as kind of like you can't run away. Like you can do what you want to change your fate. You can do whatever you can do whatever you can try whatever you want, but it's inevitable. It's gonna happen no
Yeah.
matter what you do.
Yeah. Tim, what do
Yeah,
you think about it?
and I think well, I know we'll go to Tim in a minute, but I think the main theme of this movie is that death is this is a very obviously very morbid thing to think about, not something that people tend to like to think about, but you know, about just the nature of death as something that's inevitable and that you can't ever escape. No matter how you don't like to think about it, you
Yeah.
know, it's gonna
I
come to us all eventually.
I think it also has kind of a morbid message that death can be ugly, and it's not something we it's not something we hate to think about, but it can be it can be it can be slow and fine, and it can be sudden. Like it is
Yeah.
a very morbid topic, and I'm not trying to say the characters should just like learn to like, all right, death, do your thing and die, but
Yeah.
I do think this is kind of like one of those movies that kind of put your own, like I heard when this came out, people did get very paranoid, like, oh shit, what if I choke on this to death? Like this even brings up something in the movie, like that's all I really got to say, really. I'm gonna go hand the ball to Tim and ask him what he makes of all this, and then I want to bring up another movie that I think also explores death but in a different way. Tim, what do you make of all this?
All right.
No, it's just insane to think about. Honestly, just depends on several factors and shit. So it just how you die is what scares people. You know, it just it's just scary. Like if you get horribly injured, if you get like say if you were attacked by a mountain lion or a bear while helpless, that it's really bad. It's really fucked up. So if you were to get mauled by an animal, then yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst kind of possibility. So
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so one movie that I think also deals with death is No Country for Old Men. So I'm not gonna try and spoil the movie or anything, but I do think we should talk about this on a separate podcast. But No Country for Old Men also has this idea of death, and that well, more or less fate. Really, it doesn't really talk about death. It more or less talks about fate and how people will often try and deal with it their own way, but the reality is fate does not have any master. Fate will come for you whether you like in one way or another. Sometimes you can get close to it, and sometimes you'll know it's coming, but for like a million years. Like it's not as extreme as Final Destination, where it's just like, hey, you're gonna die in this worst way imaginable. It's just like, hey, you'll die, but not whenever I feel like it. That's what it's like. That's kind of what I think about when I look into this movie on a deeper level. Is like, this is like a more ugly and chaotic. Final Destination is like an ugly, more chaotic version of Fate and Death, whereas No Country for Old Men is more like a more like a, it will come, but it's not going to be completely ugly. I mean, it might be, but we never know. You never know it. You never know. Does that make any sense to y'all, or am I just blabbering?
Well, I haven't seen No Country for Old Men, so it makes some sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trust me, it's on my watch list. Well, it's on there.
I would love to do an episode of that. That's like one. That's like my top. That's like in my top 4 favorite films of all time.
Yeah, I know. So I guess I should probably talk about the because I think we're probably getting near the end of this. But I do kind of want to talk about.
We're in the 3-minute mark, but yeah, it's. I feel like there's more to mention in this movie. Honestly, I think there's a lot more to mention in this movie. But Drew, you first.
No, I do kind of want to talk about it as a movie, about its quality as a movie. I like this movie, but I think this movie has a lot of ideas in there that don't always add up to anything. Like the whole thing, the sort of romantic subplot between Alex and Clear. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that's very well developed enough. Like it's supposed to have some impact on the ending, but it's like I don't think that's developed enough. You know, you can tell this kind of has this movie does kind of have a bit of a too many cooks in the kitchen feel to it.
I mean,
in many ways,
they could they kind of slightly scratch that like teen drama surface, like because these are a bunch of high school students, and they kind of scratch that teen drama surface with like this, like you said, the relationship between Clear and freaking Alex, and of course, I think in a way, no, who am I kidding? It doesn't, and Carter does not really have a big reason to hate Alex other than, hey, fuck you, you ruined our plane trip or whatever,
even though he inadvertently saves his life.
Yeah, I feel like the movie doesn't want the movie just. I feel like the movie wants to play around more with the idea that how can these characters avoid dying? What sort of logic will Alex try and pull and everything? That's kind of what I feel like the movie kind of wanted to do, and
Yeah. Some of the character dynamics can definitely be a bit more developed, I think. I don't think they were quite developed. That's kind of one of the biggest weaknesses of the movie, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if I meant the character.
Yeah, it was like some of the character dynamics are a bit underdeveloped. Could use a bit more time in the oven,
Yeah, that
like they could have added an extra scene or two with Alex and Claire, or maybe they could have added in like a line of exposition or something about why Carter doesn't like Alex, other than just because he hates him, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because of what happened with the plane.
So there's one death that I don't think we ever talked about, and it's the scene in which they're driving Alex to the log cabin to keep him safe from the FBI.
The one with the train, right?
This goes back to my point of that every death is built upon. It does not happen in an instant. It builds up its deaths, and it just and when it subverts your I hate using this term, but when it subverts your expectations, like, oh, is this how they're gonna die? Oh no, it's not. But like, for an example, Tim, hear me out on this. So for context, they're driving Alex to the cabin, the other characters, and one guy is actually so stricken with grief that he thinks Alex is full of bull that he doesn't care if he's next because he lost his girlfriend to a admittedly tragically funny death.
To that bus thing.
Yeah, the bus. Which someone dubbed that audio over a SpongeBob clip of Squidward getting hit by a bus. By the way. Like it wasn't some fan animation. There's a genuine episode where Squidward gets hit by a bus.
Okay, continue.
Anyways, so like he finally Carter is driving the car. He starts driving recklessly, saying, "Oh, come at me, Death! Come at me!" Like he is so like just he lost it. He's like, "Oh, if Death wants to get me now, that was a good time." Like he's taunting Death. Like he's driving recklessly. He's running red lights. He almost crashes into a pole. It's like, okay, is this somebody's gonna die? Somebody's gonna die. And then eventually it comes to train tracks, and Carter could drive off and say, "No, Tim, where are you going? Get back here!" Okay. So here's the thing: he's on train tracks, and he's like, you know what? Does Death want to take me? Does he want to fucking take me? Okay, I can. Yeah, like he's very upset, and everyone gets out of the car, and they try and convince Carter to get out of the car. He's like, okay, yeah, see, I'm gonna control my fate. See, and his car doesn't start, so he's probably gonna get hit by a train. but then his seatbelt gets stuck. So now it becomes like, oh shit, this is how Carter dies. He's gonna get hit by a train. And they rescue Carter. Carter lives. Nobody dies from the train, but his car gets destroyed, and there's a piece of metal underneath the train tracks. And one of the people Carter had a fight with, was his name Billy?
Billy, I think, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think his name was Billy. Billy was somebody who got into a kerfuffle of Carter as he's, like, doing the driving. And he starts yelling. Everyone's lying down on the ground, like, nearly panicked. Claire is comforting Alex, and Alex is holding on to Carter. And Billy's, like, yelling at us, like, see, Carter, you see, you almost got us killed. Who cares about this death game when there's a difference between being fearful of death and just being stupid, and what you did was stupid. And the camera keeps cutting to this piece of metal from Carter's car underneath the train tracks. It's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And the scene goes on where Billy is still yelling at Carter, and then they're still at Carter while all three characters on the ground, but Billy's like standing up tall going, I'm better than you, or something. And the camera just cuts back between the metal piece and rocking back under the train tracks and Billy yelling at him until finally a chain catches on the metal piece, flies out, and decapitates Billy. Now, is that scene brutal? Yes, but it's the buildup that is the best part. Like, It's like that Alfred Hitchcock line, the bomb theory. It's like, you just have a table explode and, oh, that's just cheap shock value. But you show the bomb under the table ticking out, like, okay, when is this going to explode? When is it going to explode? It's kind of like that. You know what I mean, Tim?
Yeah. Yeah, as the two characters are talking about baseball, it's the classic Hitchcock analogy.
Yeah, you know what we're talking about, Tim? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's building suspense. It's gripping you, going, okay, this will happen.
Yeah, the suspense thing where they literally avoid death, and then there was a fight scene and stuff after that.
But there was a fight scene, and there was also a piece of metal rocking underneath the train table, train tracks.
Train tracks.
Yeah, it's building suspense. And what about that metal? It's like that. It's like that. Shit. I got no metaphor for this, man. I got no metaphor. But what were you saying? Tim, you were gonna say something?
I don't know. I give up. So
I'm not trying to argue with you. I just here's the thing. I thought Final Destination was just gonna be. Don't take this personally, Drew. I know you like this movie. I thought Final Destination was just gonna be pure gore slop, like just pure gore exploitation slop. But when seeing the first Final Destination movie and how admittedly the deaths are a little silly, like how they kind of have this Rube Goldberg machine effect to them, but it's the buildup that I think is because, like, oh, is it going to happen here? Will it happen here? It keeps me guessing, like, oh, how is this going to happen? Is the computer going to burn the house down slowly, or is there going to be a series of accidents? Like, oh, that I see it now, you know. So that's why I'm kind of enthusiastically talking about this movie. It's just I feel like that Danny DeVito gif where he's like, oh my god, I get it now, you know.
Yeah, the movie does do a great job of building suspense. I think that's what makes horror. I think it's not really necessarily what effective horror is. It's not necessary. It's not the kill itself. It's not the kill or the scare itself. It's the build up to the scare or the kill or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's how I feel about Final Destination 1. I don't know if I want to watch the sequels because, I mean, fuck, I'm already paranoid for stars. Not because of this movie, just in general. But like,
I mean, the second one will make you afraid of log trucks.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like it just, like I said, like death is an invisible force, and they're creating this mousetrap like Rube Goldberg machines. So yeah, and I guess the other thing I can add on to it is like it has a very like Y2K aesthetic to it. I think I already mentioned this before, but like
yeah, you did.
So there's just something about the whole movie that has this like it feels like it's not made in the 80s, but it was definitely like early 2000s where I should actually bring this up. Really nice piece of trivia. Did you know the movie was actually originally supposed to be an X-Files episode? Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, the writers initially they based it off of their spec script for an X-Files episode.
Yeah, and I feel like this is actually the X-Files actually is. I thought this was gonna be like a throwaway, like, oh, this was originally an X-Files episode. Hear me out. There's there's the FBI investigators. There's these two FBI agents who are investigating the plane crash. Because you probably feel well, how does the government get involved?
Do you know what's funny? One of them is named Agent Shrek, and because of the movie Shrek that came out, I think a year or so after this, that line is retroactively hilarious. That name is
retroactively hilarious. Are you serious? There's a character named Shrek?
It's supposed to be a reference to Max Shrek, who played Count Orlok in the original 1922 Nosferatu. But this came out, I think, about a year or two before Shrek. And so it's retroactively hilarious.
Oi, laddie, we need you to answer some questions. Okay, so this is why the movie is historically significant. There's a character named Shrek. Case closed.
Yeah, I heard that.
Oh my gosh! Because, like I said, I remember. We should. It would have been funny. It would be funny if they started calling the agents Agent Shrek and Agent Donkey.
And they have a cat named Puss. And they're and Agent Shrek is marrying a girl named Fiona. Oh, okay. No. Final Destination 7. Shrek makes a deal with a tiny version of Bloodworth, and he goes back to the events of the very first movie chronologically. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This completely broke me. I did not pay attention to the FBI agent, so this fucking broke me. I'm sorry. Okay. But, no, like, anyways, so FBI agents. So the FBI actually investigates the plane crash, rolling, is this a terrorist attack? Is Alex a former terrorist who actually planted a bomb or something? And eventually, when the survivors got killing off, they start to think, is Alex the killer? Like, how are they going to believe that he is deaf?
Yeah.
They believe that he's a deaf killer. And
because think about it. If you're an FBI agent and you're investigating this plane crash, and there's this one guy who seemed to know exactly how the crash was going to happen before it happens, I mean, what else would you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I know you mentioned how a lot of on our last episode of Why Horror Matters. You said that I don't know why I said Five Nights at Freddy's, but Nightmare on Elm Street. It's because his name's Freddy. That's why. Nightmare on Elm Street. You mentioned the police are incompetent, but here's the thing: the FBI are competent, but they just can't buy the fact that there's a paranormal force or just some supernatural force beyond our comprehension. I think there's a difference between I'm an idiot who can't catch the human killer. I think there's just I don't know, man. How can a supernatural force really be a cause of this? They should be taking this to the Men in Black or the X-Files, not the Federal Bureau investigation. They're competent, but they just don't know how to feel about a force they can't control. Are you sure? This sounds very schizo.
Yeah, the police, the FBI investigators have a perfectly valid reason to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I feel like we can discuss in the future episodes. I feel like a lot of some movies in the 2000s, and this might be a stretch here, but they kind of start treating their police a lot more competent, or just law enforcement. Another 2000s horror movie, 30 Days of Night, the main character is a sheriff going up against a bunch of vampires. But that's for another story. That's for a completely different story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's some the FBI investigators are kind of that X-Files influence that was originally supposed to be the X-Files episode.
Yeah.
I can actually see this being an X-Files episode, but replace the FBI investigators, Agent Shrek, and I don't know, what was the other guy's name? Donkey?
I don't know. No, the other guy's name wasn't Donkey. That was just a joke.
Okay.
Shrek and I'm pretty sure his name wasn't as hilarious as Shrek. But let's see here. Agent Wayne, I think. Wayne. Wayne, I think was the guy's name. Because I think it was supposed to be a reference to Robert
the 90s
Wayne, who I believe.
Ween.
No, I think it was Wayne. I think it was supposed to be a reference to I think the guy's name was Robert Wayne, who directed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the original,
interesting,
from 1920.
Other horror movies.
Well, the Billy, his last name is Hitchcock. He even wears a New York Rangers jersey that says Hitchcock on the back of it.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
Todd Wagner. That's a reference to. Oh, it's a reference to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Hitchcock. Um, there's a guy in there, Larry Murnau, reference to F.W. Murnau, director of
Yeah.
Nosferatu, the original.
Yeah.
Alex Browning, his that's reference to
Uh-huh.
Todd Browning, who directed Dracula, the 1931 one.
Ah, yeah, Dracula.
There's
Kill
there's
bitches and
a lot of
burn.
yeah. Valerie Luton, the teacher, uh, that's reference to Val Luton, who I know is a
Val.
particular influential person in horror history.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah,
All right. Well, that's interesting. That's really cool. But
yeah,
um but yeah, again, these FBI again, I don't know if the FBI has ever appears in the next Final Destination movies or anything, do they?
they do. They appear in some of them. Yeah,
Okay.
not those characters, but FBI people.
Okay, because I know like they never appeared in any of in the Final Destination trailers. In fact, I went back. I kind of watched the trailer for Final Destination 4 because that was the first Final Destination movie I ever heard of. It got me confused. Like, why is this about the Smash Brothers stage? When did they bring the Smash Brothers stage? But like I don't recall ever seeing any police in any Final Destination trailers I've seen before I ended up watching the first one. So it's just like, where are the? How do you explain this to the popo or are the popo
Mhm.
useless? I mean, they're not. I
Yeah,
mean, they're doing their job. They have every reason to be skeptical. Like, okay, is this really? Do you really believe that there's a inevitable force? I mean, you
yeah.
know.
I think in Final Destination 5, Bloodworth. I think the scene that he appears in, he's kind of working with the FBI. I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very very interesting.
If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while since I've seen that scene. So
Um, but that's all. Also, real quick before we get to our conclusion, I just want to say I kept mistaking I looked up the director, and today I learned there's two directors named James Wan and James
yes,
Wong. I'm not being
yeah,
racist. Those are real people, by the way.
yeah, this is James Wong, not
Wong,
Wan,
W-O-N-G,
Wong.
who,
Yeah,
yeah,
James
who
Wan did Saw and The Conjuring and a bunch of other stuff.
he also
This
did
is James
Aquaman.
Wong. Yeah, he did that too.
Yeah, so James Wan and James Wong. That's certainly
Two
where I
different
get
people.
confusing.
Two different
Two
people.
different people. That's all I really have to say. So Tim, after everything you explained, do you think Final Destination, the first one at least, has any artistic merit and cultural significance?
It's just popular for being like a good gore movie, a good horror time and stuff. I would not, enjoy it or recommend
But
it because I know that some of
even
my
after
friends are
everything we
really
just
into horror.
explained, but Tim, we're
But
asking you, a non-horror fan, do you understand why somebody could like this movie outside of like the mindless gore and violence?
I don't know, man. I mean, to horror fans, it's pretty clear from the start. But non-horror, I can't really stomach it. So and I know
Well, we're not
half
asking
my
you if you would
friends.
watch the movie, but would you understand why somebody would like the movie?
I told you about the plane scene. It was so fascinating to me. I suppose some merit to what you're saying. So in a way, yes.
Okay. What about, it's not just aside from the deaths, but like what about the mere concept of characters becoming completely paranoid? Like, because like this, I think there's more. I've just. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm simping for this movie, which I'm not. Like, this movie's not one of my favorites, but like I was kind of a detractor of the Final Destination movies. I thought they were just mindless gore and violence, but after watching the first, I'm like, I get it now. Like, I get it. So I'm just one. I'm not trying to say you should watch them, but do you think that this again, there is some artistic merit to this movie? Oh shit, we lost him.
Say, but I
Oh,
wouldn't.
never mind. You're back. You're back. Sorry. Can you repeat what you just said? But your mic cut out. It happened again.
Not
It
really
cut out.
seeing it last.
Can you repeat everything you just
Well, I
said? Your
don't know
mic
what.
cut out.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So can you just come back? What you said? Does Final Destination 1
Can you hear me?
have any artistic merit from an outsider looking in after everything we just explained?
See that, honestly. It's just you know, I view it as just people looking for more blood and guts is what I say. So
shit. Well, okay. Well, again, you get cut off again, but so it sounds like you understand it, but you just would not watch it.
Yeah, I suppose. And okay, I don't know what's making it cut out like that. I don't know why. So I don't understand.
Well, as long as it's not the ghost virus from Unfriended, we should be fine. But that's
what was that?
As long as I'm making a dumb joke. As long as it's not the ghost virus from Unfriended, it's making cut out. It's all good. Yeah. But
all right, so I guess on that note, does anybody else have anything to add? I don't really have anything else to add.
Yes, before we cut out this, before we end this episode, I'll say tune in for our next episode. We'll do another James Wong movie, the cinematic masterpiece known as Dragon Ball Evolution.
No. No.
That's real, by the way. The guy who made Final Destination directed Dragon Ball Evolution. That is real. So thank you all for tuning into this episode of Why Horror Matters. We hope you enjoyed this episode and maybe gave you some new insight onto the first Final Destination movie. I don't know if we're gonna do the sequels in the future, but hey, whatever happens, as long as nobody dies. But yeah, that's about it. I guess we'll end it here. Bye-o, and be careful.